Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. BBT founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON Incorporation Anniversary Ki. Lord Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, and Srila Prabhupada. It's a very auspicious day. I'm sure everyone has read the pastime in Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, Let There Be a Temple. I cut and pasted some relevant section in the residence chat on WhatsApp. If anyone hasn't recently read that chapter, just a small couple of paragraphs there. So we'll continue reading Prabhupada's Lilamrita. This is volume 6. And this is the chapter titled Chant Hare Krishna and Fight. Each month, one of Srila Prabhupada's GBC men stayed with him to serve as his secretary and to receive direct training in personal association. The secretary for January 1977 was Rameshwar Prabhu. Prabhupada was generally pleased and enlivened when early in the morning Rameshwar entered the room, having flown straight from Los Angeles to Bombay. Prabhupada considered Rameshwar an expert ISKCON manager, especially in printing and distributing Krishna-conscious literature, which was Prabhupada's priority in preaching. Rameshwar inquired as a humble servant before his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, he said, "You look well. Are you feeling well?" Srila Prabhupada laughed. "At the present moment, I am feeling well because you are here." Within moments, they were discussing ISKCON preaching and management, and Prabhupada advised Rameshwar that the best policy was to use money for printing more books. As soon as money accumulated, Prabhupada warned it would be taxed and would cause headaches. Better to immediately spend it for printing books. "Print books and sell and spend," said Srila Prabhupada. "Follow this policy and distribute these books. That is our main preaching. Somehow or other, we must take our books door to door and distribute. Then our preaching is successful. Anyone who will read will get some benefit, that is sure, because no other such literature is available throughout the whole world. It is a new revolution to the people in general." When Srila Prabhupada asked for news of ISKCON's activities in the West, Rameshwar gave the latest details of how the Krishna consciousness movement in America was being attacked in the courts and press as a psychologically dangerous brainwashing cult. Srila Prabhupada was already aware of this. It was, in fact, the conspiracy he had referred to on his morning walk. An anti-cult movement was now aggressively active and lumping the Hare Krishna movement in with other new movements. Srila Prabhupada was well aware of the deprogrammers, kidnapping of devotees, and intensively coercing them, and he had shown that he was not intimidated by the attack. He had assured the devotees that Krishna would protect them, and that the outcome would ultimately be in their favor. The most significant battle, one that had concerned Srila Prabhupada for several months, was a legal case in New York where the temple president, Adi Keshava, was being charged with employing mind control to keep the devotees in the temple. The parents of 2 adult devotees had pressed charges after hiring deprogrammers had failed to break the 2 devotees' determination for Krishna consciousness. In a spirit of anti-cult crusade, an assistant attorney general was prosecuting all legal and governmental facilities at his disposal. Although civil libertarians were outraged and assured the devotees that the opposition could never win, the implications of the case were fearful nevertheless. The case challenged the very right of the Hare Krishna movement to exist as a bona fide religion, and challenged the right of adult devotees to remain in the movement against the wishes of their parents. Also at issue was whether members of the Hare Krishna movement were members by their own choosing or being kept in the movement by psychological manipulation, brainwashing. When Srila Prabhupada had first heard of this case, his reply in a letter from Vrindavan had been like a clarion call to battle against the forces of illusion. Regarding the point, this is Prabhupada's letter, regarding the point about whether our movement is bona fide, you can use the following arguments. Bhagavad Gita has got so many editions. Our books are older than the Bible. In India, there are millions of Krishna temples. Let the juries and judges read our books and take the opinion of learned scholars and professors. So during that court case, I was assigned to bring all those books to the court. So we loaded up the vehicle, the temple car at that time, and delivered them. Every single book that had been published up to that time, we delivered to the courts. And they were entered as evidence, and therefore making it necessary for the opposition to read Prabhupada's books, including the judges. That was a very interesting time. Let's see what else he said. Regarding the second point about their parents' jurisdiction over their children, here are some suggestions. Do the parents like that their children become hippies? Why don't they stop it? Do the parents like their children to become involved in prostitution and intoxication? Why don't they stop this? They are now feeling the weight of this movement. Formerly they thought, these people come and go. But now they see we are staying. Now we have set fire. It will go on. It cannot be stopped. You can bring big fire brigade, but the fire will act. The brainwash books are already there. Even if they stop externally, internally it will go on. Our first-class campaign is book distribution. Go house to house. The real fighting is now. Krishna will give you all protection. So chant Hare Krishna and fight. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 2nd Chapter, text number 8. Chapter titled, Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Durabhago. Do we chant the whole sentence or word for word? Whole sentence. Durabhago Patalokoyang. Does everyone have it there that you can refer? It's 328. We can wait a second. 328. It would be nice. We can have one of those rolling chalkboards. We can make one. But, I mean, in this day of instruments, everyone's got one. Dhurabhago Bataloko Yang Yadavo Nitaramapi Ye Sang Vasanto Navidur Harim Mina Ivo Dupam Durabhago Bataloko Yang Yadavo Nitaramapi Ye Sang Vasanto Navidur Haring Mina Ivo Dupam. Please chant. Durabhago Bataloko Yang Yadavo Nitaramapi Ye Savasanto Navidur Haring Mina Ivo Dupam Durabhago Bataloko Yang Yadavo Nitarangapi Ye Sangvasanto Navidur Haramina Ivo Dupam Durabhago Bataloko Yang Yadavo Nitaramapi Ye Sangvasanto Navidur Haring Mina Vodapam Durbhago Batalokayam Yadavo Nitarangapi Yeshang Basanto Nabidur Haring Mina Vodapam. Anyone else? Durbhago Batalokayam Yadavo Nitaramapi Yesang Vasanto Nabidur Haring Mina Vodupam Durbhaga. Unfortunate, Bhatta, certainly, Loka, universe, I am this, Yadava, the Yadu dynasty, Nitaram, more specifically, Api, also, Ye, those, Sangvasantak, living together, Na, did not, Vidu, understand, Harim, the personality of Godhead, Mina, the fishes, Eva Udapam, like the moon. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This universe with all its planets is most fortunate, and even more unfortunate. This universe with all its planets is most unfortunate. And even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty, because they could not identify Lord Hari as the personality of Godhead, any more than the fish could identify the moon. Please repeat. This universe with all its planets is most unfortunate. And even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty, because they could not identify Lord Hari as the personality of Godhead, any more than the fish could identify the moon. Purport. Uddhava lamented for the unfortunate persons of the world who could not recognize Lord Shri Krishna in spite of seeing all his transcendental godly qualities. From the very beginning of his appearance within the prison bars of King Kamsa, up to his most shallow Leela, although he exhibited his potencies as the personality of Godhead in the six opulences of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, the foolish persons of the world could not understand that he was the Supreme Lord. Foolish persons might have thought him an extraordinary historic figure because they had no intimate touch with the Lord. But more unfortunate were the family members of the Lord, the members of the Yadu dynasty, who were always in company with the Lord, but were unable to recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uddhava lamented his own fortune also, because although he knew Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could not properly use the opportunity to render devotional service to the Lord. He regretted everyone's misfortune, including his own. The pure devotee of the Lord thinks himself most unfortunate. That is due to excessive love for the Lord and is one of the transcendental perceptions of viraha, the suffering of separation. It is learned from the revealed scriptures that the moon was born from the milk ocean. There is a milk ocean in the upper planets, and there Lord Vishnu, who controls the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the Supersoul, resides as the Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Those who do not believe in the existence of the ocean of milk, because they have experience only of the salty water in the ocean, should know that the world is also called the Go, which means the cow. The urine of a cow is salty, and according to Ayurvedic medicine, the cow's urine is very effective in treating patients suffering from liver trouble. Such patients may not have any experience of the cow's milk, because milk is never given to liver patients. But the liver patient may know that the cow has milk also, although he has never tasted it. Similarly, men who have experience only of this tiny planet where the saltwater ocean exists may take information from the revealed scriptures that there is also an ocean of milk, although we have never seen it. From this ocean of milk, the moon was born, but the fish in the milk ocean could not recognize that the moon was not another fish and was different from them. The fish took the moon to be one of them, or maybe something illuminating, but nothing more. The unfortunate persons who do not recognize Lord Krishna are like such fish. They take him to be one of them, although a little extraordinary in opulence, strength, etc. The Bhagavad Gita 9:11 confirms such foolish persons to be most unfortunate. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanam ashritam. Om Jnanatam Randasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshuram Taminatas Maishri Garave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangum Lankai Tegaram Nyat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Ditatanam. Very interesting verse for a very interesting day. We're reading from, we have a tendency to not sit properly in front of the deities, to cross your legs. We're reading in the Lilamrita, the Prabhupada's pastime, and make no mistake, this is certainly a pastime, of incorporating the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This is an extension of the Chaitanya Lila. In the Chaitanya Bhagavatam, it's clearly described that Senapati Bhakt, that is the commander-in-chief of the devotees, would appear in the foreign countries outside of India in order to reclaim those conditioned souls who were fortuitously placed there to be assistants, just like planting the seed. So we see that this phenomena, it's very difficult, now that we have the benefit of historical vision, how Srila Prabhupada was able to accomplish this, seemingly alone. Even with those few members of the early days, many of them had no understanding of actually who is Krishna, who is Srila Prabhupada, what is the significance of this movement. But somehow or other they were sent, like the lawyer, Mr. Goldsmith, in order to facilitate this pastime of the formation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna, not God. And you could see the consciousness of the devotees at that time, that they're trying to explain to Srila Prabhupada that God would be a better word than Krishna. But somehow or other, we now have this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, a very valuable, you could say, and now in this age, the primary branch of the Chaitanya tree. There is no other branch that comes close in this respect. You know, sometimes we take a look at a tree and we can see there are many, many branches, beginning from the trunk. But some branches are large and some branches are small. And the larger branches produce more fruit. This is just a natural observation. It is not by some artificial insemination or grafting that these things take place. It is just natural. And therefore we can see the results that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has produced a greater bounty of fruits than any other branch. This is not some conjecture or some prejudice or bias. This is just a fact. Nobody can deny. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust is the main facility, the main vehicle by which these fruits have been produced. And it is our great fortune to have the opportunity to distribute these fruits. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared himself to be the gardener, but in his Leela he described his inability to properly or distribute these fruits. So therefore this task was left to Srila Prabhupada. So seen from this perspective, we can understand the significance of this day. It's just like in the United States, we have a major holiday, July 4th, Independence Day. The formation of the basis, you can say, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, very significant day. So more significant than that day is the formation of ISKCON in 1966. This is the real Independence Day, by which every living entity present in the material world during this fortuitous time period of Kali Yuga gets the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Kalera doshanidhi rajanasti kamagunat kirtanadeva krishnasya. Such a simple thing, but so sublime. Unfortunately, we're able to recognize those few members of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness are more fortunate than the Pandavas, that we're able to recognize that who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to please Him. So this is a miracle, for lack of a better word. What else can explain it? That such a benediction has been bestowed upon us, and everything pointing back to this particular day. You know, without this society being formed, there would have been no basis for continuity, because it is required for so many activities. You have to have this determination, tax exemption. ISKCON in itself, all corporations are considered to be entities. So in that sense, ISKCON is in itself an entity. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, it is a corporate entity. So it exists independently of any one particular person, technically. And it will continue to exist. This is of course, this requires some attention by the members. Anything can be broken. Kali Yuga is especially easy. In the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, we've seen many times that schisms and divisions can appear caused by some insignificant situation. So we have to take great care to treat ISKCON the way Srila Prabhupada would want us to, as a requiring great care and attention, not to be neglected in any way, not by omission or commission. Prabhupada used those two terms in his message of Godhead in the early days. He related how certain leaders would have to reap the results of their activities, either by omission or commission, by neglect or by, purposeful, willful neglect. There's different ways of saying that. So we should not be inadvertently neglectful or willfully neglectful. These two things have the same result, that one takes it that this is just another building and this is just another situation, and it's not really, from some perspective, transcendental. One has to get up in the middle of the night and fix a broken pipe. It may not be the most exciting engagement, but this is Krishna's personal expansion This is tadyanam. We take very great care with the personal paraphernalia of the deity. If someone were to take Krishna's flute and break it, we would all be horrified. Everyone would rush immediately to capture that rascal. Who would do such a thing? But we see that there's neglect. Someone takes something, part of the building, and through neglect or carelessness breaks it. Someone is thinking, oh, it's just a building, it's just material. No, this is not just a building. It is not just a lock or a toilet or a stove these things are all directly related to Krishna, to the extent that we have the consciousness to accommodate those concepts. Prabhupada never, why was he so upset in Mayapur when he saw the dirty bathroom? It's just a bathroom. It wasn't even a devotee bathroom. It was the workers' bathroom. So why be upset? Because it was part of the temple. It was on the boundary wall. It was a place where visitors could, by happenstance, come across it and see it. And potentially get the wrong impression that how is this spiritual society maintaining such a filthy situation? But it was by no fault of the devotees, but by the neglect of the workers. But it doesn't matter. Prabhupada could see that if someone was ignoring this tamagun, that means he is also of the same quality. If I see something that's broken and I don't fix it, that means I'm also in that broken mode, the tamagun mode. No, mode of goodness means I must act. I must correct it. Understanding the reality, the real connection to Krishna that this bathroom has. No one would, if it was Srila Prabhupada's bathroom, no one would let that be like that. We would clean it as if our life depended on it. So that consciousness has to extend to everything related to Krishna. Therefore, when one sees something in the temple that is not right, he must act to correct it, or find some way to correct it, or advise someone. There's that, everyone at some point or another will use that verse as an excuse. Better to do one's own duty than to do another's perfectly. You've heard that? So, Prabhu, that's not my duty. I'm a Sankirtan devotee. I'm a pujari. I'm a cook. Whatever that means. All right? Are these not designations? Sarvapari vinir muktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhakti uchite. That's our designation. We're a servant. We have to, sarvapari means give up all these false designations, all these unwanted things, upadis. So that begins with thinking that first, that in all respects I am a servant, not pujari, not Sankirtan devotee, not kirtaniya, not any of these things. I'm a devotee. And therefore it is my duty to serve. And that service has no designation. But by some unfortunate identification, someone is thinking, no, I cannot do this service. I cannot do it. So that's okay. Krishna makes arrangement for that. He sees that a person who thinks that I cannot do that, then gradually he will lose his taste for service. And everything he does, whatever he does, even though he thinks I'm a pujari, there will be no taste. And once that taste is lost, everything is lost. So yes, this is the key. We have to achieve that higher taste. But to keep it, that is the trick. How to keep that higher taste. In the face of so many seeming impediments or obstacles. That, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. No, one has to conquer the mind. Just imagine, Srila Prabhupada was acting as the acharya, the cook, the pujari, the temple commander. I remember one devotee who had joined on, actually they had been attending Prabhupada's classes even at the Bowery. And when they got the storefront to 26 Second Avenue, there's no brahmachari ashram. There was no place for devotees to live. So people were living in there, and most of the people who were part of that society at that time all came from that neighborhood, Lower East Side. So one devotee who was living there, his apartment became the brahmachari ashram. But there were so many devotees at that time growing, whatever there was, some of them would go and use Srila Prabhupada's bathroom in the apartment behind the storefront at 26 Second Avenue. And unconsciously, unthinkingly, they would even use Prabhupada's towel or anything else that they found in the bathroom, just because, thoughtlessness, not knowing who is this personality who has come among us. Such familiarity. So from that, later, of course, Prabhupada gave a little warning. He said, do not get too close to the spiritual master or the deity. Familiarity breeds contempt. So it is not a good thing which is why we read in Lilamrita how this GBC men, they would become a servant for a short time, a year at most. Sometimes much less. Because the tendency is to be in such close proximity to the spiritual master is to consider him to be an ordinary human being. And so very rarely did Srila Prabhupada take his meals with devotees in general, unless it was a special occasion, and there was many, and he was giving some special opportunity. Otherwise, usually he ate on his own. So this is just a few small things to understand who is Srila Prabhupada, what is ISKCON, how we're receiving this knowledge, and what is the catalyst for understanding it. That Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru. That one who has implicit faith in both the spiritual master and Krishna. To him all the purports of Vedic literature are automatically revealed. So this is not sentiment. It's not that we neglect the books and thinking in some neophyte way that I'll just neglect everything and just continue in some attitude of service without appreciation of the underlying philosophy. Because that is also niyamagraha, this is a type of carelessness. Yes, it is okay, we should serve. We should serve unhesitatingly. But that can only be done if there is a firm foundation in the philosophy. So we're making this opportunity available even in the busiest of schedule. We're having classes in the morning. And at some point we'll reestablish classes in the evening, because that was Prabhupada's formula. As much as possible, it should always be maintained. In the evening in Vrindavan, I don't know about Mayapur, but in Vrindavan we still have morning and evening classes. So that's Prabhupada's home, so there things are maintained to a great extent as they were when he was present. And a very important part of that evening program was nectar devotion before Bhagavad Gita. So those two things. And whenever in Prabhupada's presence, he would give two classes also morning and evening, and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we always had two classes daily from Srila Prabhupada when he was present. And anyone can go online now, and in New York, he was giving very nice classes all the time. But in 1976, he was giving morning and evening classes. very, very satisfying to the heart of the sincere devotee to hear Prabhupada's. And it's not that Srila Prabhupada was unaware of his situation. His health had not been good already for some time. And in July 1976, he was there, so he stayed for 11 days before returning east, back to towards India. So it was very satisfying, although none of us wanted to acknowledge that this would be the last time we were seeing him. For many of us it was. And somehow or other, his association was much sweeter at that time, and we took more advantage of that, of the opportunity to associate, especially by serving and hearing. These are the two things that the spiritual master's presence, and even after his presence, but one has to have that mentality that wherever he is, whenever it is, regardless of the chronological date, the opportunity to serve the spiritual master is always there, whether separated by time or geographical distance. So to us, many of us, Srila Prabhupada is still here. It's not that he's gone. We don't think in that way. What's the point? He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die. Especially on a day like this, when we realize the impact Srila Prabhupada has had, not just on us, but on the entire universe. How much more significant it is, and to relish that realization that this opportunity to participate in a transcendental movement, not just an organization on a piece of paper filed with the official records downtown at Center Street. No, this is something very special. But if one does not consider it such in that way, then he will lose the taste. He will lose the perspective. And perspective is everything. According to Srila Prabhupada's purport in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, what does he say? He says, intelligence means to understand things in their proper perspective. And so there's always different ways, and you can see one person sees one side, one person sees another, one sees black, one sees white, but they're reading the same thing. Right? That's what the Christians say. But some don't understand it, and they never will. So an appreciation of the transcendental reality is the proper perspective that gives one insight into everything that he does in Krishna consciousness, whether it's reading or serving. Everything will have meaning. The heart will be properly cleansed. Right? We used to have that saying back in old ISKCON, that cleaning the pots means cleaning your heart. Cheta darpa marjanam, bhava mahadevadi nirvapanam. The mirror of the heart. So when one cleanses that, then he can see himself, truly. And so that's why the first thing every guest was introduced to when they came to Krishna consciousness in the old was washing Krishna's pots. Because if that, you could do that, if you were humble enough in some way or another, or surrendered enough, that was the beginning. The heart was becoming cleansed. Perceptibly, imperceptibly, that was having an effect. So this is, one should never be shy about engaging someone in devotional service, thinking, oh, this person won't do it. He's too whatever. What is that person? He's dressed too nicely? He appears too delicate? I mean, what would be the reason why you wouldn't engage someone in Krishna's transcendental service? No, everyone should have an opportunity to engage. And that is the quickest path to advancement, is to do such menial service. Seemingly menial. It's not menial, but to some it appears that way. And therefore, if they can accommodate that, that has an extra advantage, an extra benefit for them. So everything we have today is now a result of that hallmark day, Independence Day, July 11th, 1966. So who can, so now we're here. Some of us, can remember, the various dates and the occasions and the celebrations. And that Prabhupada was, he even used the bicentennial anniversary. 1976 was the United States bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So he talked that, the culture of independence. He gave that lecture in Washington Square Park that day. And of course, he related it to our actual independence. This is okay. So, very significant. And I'm sure, of course, all the members here appreciate that. But the way we show our appreciation is to manifest that determination to distribute Prabhupada's books regardless of any so-called impediments. There are no real impediments. But these impediments crop up due to our hesitation, due to the mind's limitation, due to our tendency to see things according to our time and circumstance. What is that verse? Atmavan manyate jagat. We have to be careful about that concept. See things through one's own mind, not Shastra Chakshus. The difference between the devotees and those who are just caught up in this contemporary events is that the devotees see the big picture. People speak about the big picture, but they have no concept of the big picture. They only see things, from their limited perspective of one lifetime. And the devotees have the examples of the acharyas and the great sages and saints going back millions of years, time immemorial. So that Shastra Chakshus is our weapon by which we can act effectively. As Srila Prabhupada said, fight. We fight. It is not a violent fight. Yeah. We're fighting nescience, we're fighting maya, we're fighting ignorance. And how do you fight that? You fight ignorance by knowledge. Oma jnana tarandasya gananjana shalakaya. Chakshur metamina tasmai shri gurave namaha. So this is we accept this mission. We won't back down. There's no, those who are determined, we should learn that secret from them, how they persevere, what is that secret, that unflinching faith in the spiritual master and Krishna. How does one achieve that? What does it mean? And that service, whatever service it is, be it direct and personal, like we saw the secretaries, or whether it is indirect, simply following the orders in separation, that one will get the same result if he has the proper attitude, the proper sincerity. So one should not think that this is, unfortunately, a misconception that many have, that artificially they try to make this connection to Srila Prabhupada direct, as if there is no parampara. So that is a misunderstanding. The sentiment is correct, but the application is incorrect. Of course, Prabhupada is the center. He is everyone's Siksha Guru. There's no doubt. Foundracharya means that. But anyway, we have to understand things in their proper perspective, right? Use our intelligence. So any questions on this auspicious day related to the text and purport? Yes, Prabhu.
In the summer of 76.
You gotta speak a little loud, these old...
In the summer of 76, the Back to Godhead cover said, declaring our dependence.
Yes. That was a nice, but had the American flag and a devotee in the back, in the foreground. Very nice BTG. I remember distributing. Very nice. Culture of independence. No one is more independent than the devotees. We are the only independent thinkers. We are not connected to anything by misidentification, by place of Saeva Gokara, by one's place of birth, country of birth, family. Someone may be thinking I was born in a very good family. There's nothing. So many people, so many murderers born in very good families. So what is you read about it all the time. Psychopaths, sociopaths. But they were born in good families. So there's nothing to that. Once we take birth, what is that verse? Anyways, many verses. First canto, second chapter, Divinity and Divine Service. That you can hear about that, regardless of whether one is twice born. If he does not take up the activities, notpadiyad, yadiratim, shrama eva hi kevalam, then all these so-called birth or initiation, it's all useless. It's completely useless. Dharmak sunusata pungsam visvaksena katasaya, notpadiyad, yadiratim, shrama eva hi kevalam. So like that, there's some. I would recommend everyone to study that chapter. It's like second chapter in Bhagavad Gita is the summary study. Sometimes we're rushing through the Bhagavatam, trying to get up to the 9th canto to become self-realized. Because Prabhupada said, read first 9 cantos, you'll be self-realized. And then you can go to Krishna's Leela, 10th canto. But for me, reading this second chapter is like getting a pep talk. You go when the players, whatever it is, soccer, football, when they come on the field, the coach wants to give everybody a pep talk, rally the troops, whatever it is. And so there are some chapters in the Bhagavatam and in the Gita and in other Chaitanya Charitamrita, when you read them, and it's just like getting an energy boost. You feel resolved and determined. Yes, we can do this Krishna conscious movement. Anything can be accomplished. Anything. You just have to surrender to the order of the spiritual master. And this is the key. So when you are confronted with that, and it's not confronted, we don't mean it in an inimical manner, but when you get the opportunity to accept a service which you may not feel as the service, again, we went into that. Don't put yourself in a designation and think that you cannot do this service because it is not my nature, Prabhu. I cannot do that. That is that will be the greatest impediment. So be very careful in that regard. You don't know what Krishna has in store for you. And you have to let him guide you. He's Chaita Guru from within the heart. Certain opportunities will arise. and as much as possible, take every single one. Eventually, you will see how exactly you are the most effective instrument. What's that verse? Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Just become an instrument. Just become an instrument. So in the toolbox, there are many tools, but the expert mechanic, he knows how to use each and every one of them. So Krishna is that supreme controller, and we're all his tools, whatever he wants us to do. So we had to be prepared. He may have different uses for us at different times. And one cannot be stuck up thinking, oh, I can only act like this. That's the purport. I want to convey that as much as possible so that you don't get stuck. And, because, this Prabhu is telling me to do something I can't do, and now I have to leave. No, that's foolishness. That's the mind. And when that happens, you should take that broom or that shoe and smack it as hard as you can. This is where your intelligence comes in. You have to overrule the mind. The mind says, no, I can't. I have to do this. No. We have to do what the spiritual master wants us to do. We have the guidelines. We have Bhagavad Gita. We have Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is there. I don't have to speculate. You can dovetail, but it has to be done in such a way that the results are Krishna conscious, not semi-Krishna conscious. I remember some years back, we were distributing records, and of course, at a certain point, Prabhupada said, no, stop this. And why? It's not that it wasn't making money, it was making tons of money. He said it will not produce devotees, the right type of devotee. He's very clear. Had nothing to do with the so-called financial income. It was very easy to distribute a record. In New York City, we're printing hundreds of thousands of these records. Change of heart. Very nice devotee who did the songs. Mangalananda, my God, but I was in the old Henry Street Temple with him. Very expert musician, still travels around. And the lyrics are very sweet. All very Krishna conscious in a very nice way. But still Prabhupada said, no, not for distribution. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned Prabhupada doing the cooking.
Which one?
Prabhupada was doing the cooking and making
Yes, cooking, serving, cleaning. Prabhupada was doing everything. Just goes to show you. What?
One of the people would get up and leave.
Yes.
So one of the lingerers saw that Prabhupada was cleaning the pots himself, and he asked, can I help you?
Anyway, it's painful to even think about it.
Yes.
How Prabhupada was neglected in the early days. I often think if I could just go back in time to serve him under those circumstances. Knowing who he is, it's very difficult. But anyway, the opportunity is now. You know what they have an old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Right? No one should be lamenting that, I didn't plant that tree 20 years ago. And anyone, we have my property in Alachua, and we planted many trees, and when you plant them, they're nothing. And now they're huge trees after 20, 30 years. Right? So this is the key. Plant it now. Plant that seed of determination. Plant that seed that I am going to serve Srila Prabhupada in the most effective way possible, with all my heart, mind, and soul. Right? So that should be our vow. That should be our desire. And that should rule our every waking action. And therefore, then that commitment will be unbroken. Nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop it. Any other questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. International Society for Krishna Consciousness ki. ISKCON New York ki. The original ISKCON.